Hi, welcome to, I believe this is episode 15 of the Cinephile Diaries, but in a certain sense, this is episode 1. This is I'm going to pretend this is like season 2, episode 1, because of the fact that you can see my face right now. Yeah, we're doing it. We're doing the damn thing. We're gonna make as you can obviously tell, there's gonna be some massive changes to the show. In fact, I think the Cinephile Diaries is just gonna become one show under the umbrella of Real Reflections, REEL Reflections, real like film reel. I don't know why I feel the need to explain that. But yeah, I think I want to start branching out a little bit more and maybe like talking about some other art and other stuff. On that note, look out later this week. We have our first guest. Not today, but later this week, there's going to be a deep dive on Evangelion. So for that reason, I'm not going to talk about those movies because I did watch 4 of those movies this week. But there's a video coming out later this week that's almost 3 hours long, where we just talk about all things Evangelion. Over half of that video is dedicated to the rebuilds, which I watched this week. But yeah, that's what's happening. It's also been like 2 weeks. I keep forgetting that like I didn't do a show last week, so. Yeah, it's good to see y'all again. I didn't really watch anything in those 2 weeks. I guess, like, I will talk about Ted Lasso. I've got to talk about 2 episodes of Ted Lasso, and I've got to talk about 2 episodes of, Mando. The last 2 episodes of Mando, which is going to be fun and interesting. And I don't know if I have hot takes, or if I've just kind of, like, I've spent a lot of this show gushing about Mando, and I don't know, for some reason the last couple episodes, it's not that the last couple episodes didn't work, it just revealed some of the issues with the show, for me. But yeah, and then I didn't watch a movie in the week that I took off. I didn't watch anything because I was recovering, I guess, from Ava. It was just, yeah, weird week. But I did watch a couple of movies this week, so there's some stuff to talk about. I'm still not caught up on Yellow Jackets. Whatever, it's fine. It's a good show. Just I'm not caught up on it. But yeah, I guess we're gonna hop in. We're gonna talk some TV and movies. Bear with me. This is new territory. Doing a podcast with a video is new territory for me, so I'm probably going to try some things over the next couple of weeks. This week, I think I'm literally just going to do the show in one take and just kind of see what happens. But okay, I think you can see that. So, Ted Lasso, the last couple weeks. Let's see, the week before this, God, what was it? I almost don't remember. I just remember the Amsterdam episode, because that's kind of, what we've had lately. Yeah. So I'll just talk about the Amsterdam episode, because I don't really remember what happened in the episode before the Amsterdam episode. But the Amsterdam episode. So Ted Lasso does this thing every season where they will have an away game. They don't always, there's not an away game in every episode, but every season they have at least one episode where they have an away game. I believe there was one in season 1. I may be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure there was one in season 1. No, there definitely was, because that's when Ted met Sassy, and that's when Nate got stuck in the trunk, back when Nate was still a good guy. But yeah, anyway, we got the Amsterdam episode. Really, really fun, great little episode. It's the longest episode of the show ever. It's like over an hour, which is a little bit weird. Like, I will say, like, an episode of Ted Lasso being over an hour is not my favorite, but they do pack this episode full of really great character stuff and really great moments and a lot of new developments. I've been, gushing about the existence of Ted Becca. And Ted Becca took a hit this week because she gets rescued by some guy in Amsterdam after she falls into a river. This guy rescues her. It's very, attractive guy. And they have this day together, night together, but I don't think they do the deed. They just have this night together where he washes her clothes and, helps her get her back on her feet. It's a really, really sweet moment. It's a really, really sweet scene. And it's nice that Rebecca finally gets that moment to, I don't know, understand that love can be a real thing. Men can not be awful. And there can be a deeper connection because a lot of the show, although Rebecca has had that experience before, but it's just nice to have this little no holds bars, no strings attached moment of just someone who loved her for a night. And I know all of that sounds very explicitly sexual, and it's not. It's very wholesome. It's very kind of I don't know, normal, I guess. I don't really know what the word is. Yeah. And then in this episode, Ted tries shrooms, or he tries mushroom tea. He tries a mushroom tea, which is just a fun thing. And he goes on this little spiritual journey of trying to find himself and figure out why he exists and why he's still at Richmond. And then you realize at the end of the episode that the tea was a bad batch. He wasn't actually high for the entirety of the episode. Yeah. But I gotta talk about my favorite two guys. The best part of this episode was Roy and Jamie, who are in the picture that I have up. Just such a deep, because they Roy is really not having a great time because he broke up with Keeley, and he's really he's not recovering. He's not he feels bad about it because he broke up with her because he thinks she rejected him. And in the last episode, it's all coming back to me now. In the last episode, Keeley gets a new girlfriend, played by Jodie Balfour, who Jodie Balfour is in one of my favorite shows, also on Apple TV Plus, called For All Mankind. That's an alternate history show where the Russians got to the moon first. They landed on the moon first. Great show. Ellen Waverly is one of my favorite characters. She becomes president, and it's awesome. But yeah, so Jodie Balfour plays Jack, and Jack is Keeley's new girlfriend, and I love them together. Not as much as I love Roy and Keeley together, because Roy and Keeley should be in-game. They're perfect for each other. But yeah, that's Roy's problem. So then Roy starts taking all this anger out on Jamie, who he's been trying to help train. Did Zava leave last episode to that might have been what last episode was about. Zava leaving Richmond and retiring from the sport. Which is, yeah, dude's smart, but also kind of a diva and kind of an asshole. That's my take on Zava. So yeah, Roy has been training Jamie in order to make him the best on the team, and he gets really upset with Jamie about I'm gonna take the picture down. He gets really he starts taking all of this anger out on Jamie and forcing him to run, and while they're running, Jamie is just pointing out all the sights in Amsterdam and pointing out all of the trivia, and like he has this weird, deep touristy knowledge of Amsterdam. Every time I say the word Amsterdam, I want to say Amsterdam, damn. I don't know why, but yeah, Roy. He's like showing him all the sights, and then they have this really heart conversation. Because Roy is like, the windmills, everything here is fake. Even the windmills are fake. And Jamie is like, no, we're gonna go find a windmill. I'm gonna show you a windmill. We're gonna need bikes though. And Roy's like, I don't know how to ride a bike. Roy's like, I don't know how to ride a bike. And so Jamie teaches Roy how to ride a bike, and it's one of the most wholesome sequences in like all of television history. That relationship, like, this is the final season of Ted Lasso, so I'm sure once the season closes, I'll do like a full like retrospective. I don't know if it'll be 3 hours, but I'll do like a full retrospective on Ted Lasso. The arc of Roy Kent and Jamie Tart, their friendship, they go from absolutely hating each other in season 1 to being like freaking brothers in this season. And it's so satisfying to watch. It's so satisfying to watch these two characters become friends and you know, start to love each other platonically. Such a good arc, such good character work. What else is there to talk about with this episode? I guess you could talk about the team. The team has a really, really fun like argument, because they like Roy and Jamie are off training because Roy is being mean. Rebecca is with her new man. They leave. She leaves him at the end of the episode. Ted is on his little spiritual journey. We don't see Beard very much. He's in the episode, but we don't see him very much. But the team is like not sure what to do. So they spend like they spend the entire episode really arguing over what to do for the night in Amsterdam. Just really, really fun character dynamics and character interplay. And then of course it ends with a pillow fight, which is set up from season 1. Because on the first away game, Ted is like, do y'all want to have a movie night or a pillow fight? And everyone's like, movie night. And Ted is like, all right, but the second you say pillow fight, we're never watching another movie again. Because Ted is a dweeb and I love him. And then in this episode, they finally have the pillow fight. Except Ted's not there, unfortunately. But the pillow fight is pretty awesome. Yeah, I don't know. It's a really, really good episode of Ted Lasso. It's a really, really good, like, all of the character arcs are coming together. Everything's coming together. I love the way it ends. It ends with Rebecca starts singing, "Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright." Yeah, it ends with that, and then the entire bus, like the entire team, starts singing the song, including, and they try to hide it. I swear they tried to hide it. Roy starts singing it. I swear, because like he moves to like hide his mouth from the camera, and then like Zoro, one of the other players, like head moves in front of him. I swear though, Roy is singing. Roy is 100% singing in that final scene, in that final shot. Roy is singing. Yeah, that's my take on Ted Lasso for the week. That's kind of what there is to say on Ted Lasso. I'm really enjoying this season. I think it's going to be hard to like place it among the other two seasons until we get to the resolution, because that first season of Ted Lasso is brilliant, absolute gold. I love season 2. Like, I don't think it's as good as season 1, but I love season 2. And right now, I think this is about as good as season 2 was. So, yeah. All right. Mandalorian season 3, episodes 7 and 8. For reference, yeah, like I've done reviews for every episode of the season of The Mandalorian. I've been very clear that I really, really enjoy this season of this show. I don't think I've ever said I think it's better than seasons 1 or 2. I think it's still a fairly like it's still not as good as season. I've still been pretty solidly on the fence of it. It's not as good as seasons 1 or 2, but I've really enjoyed this show, and I've really it's just this show being the thing it's always been, which is a fun adventure of the week Star Wars show. It's Star Wars every week. And I've seen a lot of takes of like, yeah, it's still the same show, but it's not as interesting, and I don't really get that. Like the whole show, like I don't think there's anything in this season that's like miles less interesting than anything that was in season 1 or 2. Even the Jack Black episode, the Jack Black and Lizzo episode, I didn't mind. I actually really enjoyed. I thought it was really fun. I liked the fact that it was like an NCIS episode, or I don't know. It reminded me of iRobot. It's iRobot in Star Wars. But yeah, I thought that was really fun. But and episodes 7 and 8 specifically made this very clear. The overarching story of this season is just not as strong as it has been, and I think it's just really underdeveloped and really underwritten. And like, yeah, there's a million ways. I think I talked about the Pedro Pascal like the rumors of Pedro Pascal drama. And I don't know if I believe that they're the Pedro Pascal drama. I don't know if I buy it, but you can definitely tell he was not on set very much this season. If at all. Because you never see his face, but also it's pretty fundamentally not Din's show this season. And that is my biggest problem with this season of The Mandalorian. The first 2 seasons of the show are extremely important to me. It's the story of a man who grew up in an ideology, questioning that ideology and realizing there's more to life than this thing you believed for so long. That's a really, really important message to me. And this season just kind of abandons it. And it really does come down to the resolution. Like, because I was even defending when he goes back to the cult in episode 3 or whatever. I was defending it because I thought it was his opportunity for them to mess up again, for the cult to like do him wrong again. But no, the cult's just all of a sudden good now. Like the narrow-minded ideology is just all of a sudden completely fine now. Yeah, not really my favorite, if I'm being honest. And then, like, it just wasn't, like, this show dedicates much more time to, A, throwing away Din's previous arc, and making him just another member of Child of the Watch, making him just another brainwashed Child of the Watch. And then it dedicates all of his screen time to Bo-Katan. Which I love the Bo-Katan character. I love that character, and I love the idea of her leading a show. I would love for them to, like, spin off, because the end of the season sets up the idea of Mando working for the New Republic. And that's great if the show actually makes the show about Mando again. If the show actually makes the show about Mando fighting for the New Republic. Or, being a marshal for the New Republic. But if that becomes another side story to Bo-Katan's story, then I have a problem. But I would be completely fine if they spun off and made a show about Bo-Katan leading Mandalore. Like, that would be great. I would actually really enjoy that. It's just not the show that is kind of the show that we got in season 3, and it's not the show that I signed up for. It's not like I signed up for the story of Din Djarin, and I didn't know I was signing up for it, but I signed up for the story of Grogu. And that's not really what this season was. But I will say, like in 7 and 8, because I haven't talked about it at all, they did. There's still some great moments. There's some great like I liked the fights. I liked all of the fight. The last episode is just like all action, and all of the action is really well shot. I think it showcases a lot of the writing problems, and they didn't do anything in the last couple episodes to like fix the writing problems. You're telling me a literal war criminal, a literal former imperial war criminal, didn't make it to trial, and nobody knows. Nobody knows that like an entire New Republic ship went missing. Nobody knows that. Like that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But yeah, this was a pretty problematic scene or season of The Mandalorian. But like it's still a fun season. That's the thing. It's still enjoyable. There's still a lot of episodes that I really liked. I like the pirates. And it just provided the fun Star Warsiness that you kind of show up for. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's just I wish it was more focused on the character that I signed up for. It's exactly this whole season was exactly what I come to Star Wars for. But it didn't really deliver on the character that I specifically signed up for. Yeah, that's my take on The Mandalorian. I have no idea how these are going to cut together. I'm definitely going to edit this episode more than I usually do, but I have no idea how these are going to cut together. Hope you're enjoying it. Yeah, but that's my take on Mandalorian season 3. The last couple episodes of that. With that, I want to jump into something else. So, do any of you have one of those shows that like you've never seen every episode, you haven't seen every episode of, but you still like does it like shows by like you're a fan by cultural osmosis? Like you enjoy this show because it like is so popular and so like culturally relevant, I guess, and like people you admire are talking about it. That's what Star Trek is for me. I haven't seen every episode of the original show. I haven't seen every episode of Next Generation. I don't think I've seen a single episode of Voyager, Deep Space Nine. I think I've seen like 1 or 2 episodes of Enterprise. So yeah, really like the only show I've seen every episode of is Strange New Worlds, because there's only 10 of them. So like I've seen enough Star Trek to know what Star Trek is and what Star Trek is not. And a lot of modern Star Trek is not really Star Trek. I've seen the first 6 or 7 episodes of Discovery, and Discovery is a show that is inherently kind of the antithesis of what Star Trek is. Because Discovery is a show about wartime, and it's a show about military people. Not, like the Federation is a military force, but not explorers, scientists, pioneers, not pilgrims. Like, Star Trek at its core is a show about discovering new life, discovery, curiosity, journeying into the unknown with curiosity. Star Trek Discovery, is a show where they're trying to find new ways to kill people in every episode. It's just not Star Trek. And I think I've seen the first episode of Star Trek Picard, which is what I'm actually going to be talking about right now. Whoops. And like I thought it was okay, but I didn't have Paramount Plus at the time, so I never actually like got into it. And then I heard like most of season 1 was not very good, and and season 2 was apparently really, really terrible. So like when a creator that I follow saw or read or like experienced Star Trek Picard season 3 early and loved it, and this creator hates modern Star Trek more than I think I've ever hated anything. This guy hates modern Star Trek, and he loved Star Trek Picard season 3. So you kind of gotta take notice when a hater does the 360, when a hater does the turnaround, or a 180, not a 360. When a hater does the turnaround, you kind of have to take notice. So I took notice and I put on the first couple episodes of Picard season 3. This show it just is Star Trek. Like it just like I don't have the nostalgia. Like there's definitely some nostalgic moments that even got me like I'm gonna talk in full spoilers. In episode 9, I think it's episode 9, they step onto the bridge of the Enterprise D the Enterprise E from the original show. They step onto that bridge for the first time. I'm not gonna lie, I got choked up. Just the final episode with the entire Next Generation crew, on that, like in that ship again, piloting that ship, and they're all like older, grizzled. They've been through some stuff, but they've all come back together like a family. Just really, really, really good Star Trek. Just by the end of it, it's just classic. Like it feels like it belongs within the canon. Discovery doesn't really feel like it belongs within the canon. About like half of Strange New Worlds feels like it belongs within the canon. But this, like the entire thing just felt right. It felt like perfect send-off to the character of Jean-Luc Picard, the character of Riker, all of these characters felt like they got like a true send-off in this season. And there's so many references that I didn't even understand. Like there's so many characters from the original show. There's references to Deep Space Nine, obviously Seven of Nine, who's a character from Voyager, I think. This was my introduction to that character. But like she's in the show. And she's a really, really interesting, fun character. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I brought up Picard other than just it's really good and I wanted to talk about shows by cultural osmosis. Let me know if you have any of those shows, by the way. Like if you have any shows that you're a fan of by osmosis, you should, one of those shows that like you love but you haven't seen every episode of. I have a couple of those, and Star Trek is kind of one of those. Star Trek is one of those franchises for me. Yeah, that's my take on Star Trek Picard season 3. Yeah, honestly, that's what I got in the world of TV. Let's jump into some movies really quickly. Not really quickly. Okay, so the first movie that I watched this week, the first movie I had watched in like 9 days, was I went to the movie theaters and I saw Renfield, the movie starring Nicholas Hoult and the man, the myth, the legend himself, Academy Award winner as Dracula, Nicolas Cage. This movie's a lot of fun, I'm not gonna lie. I haven't seen anyone else make this comparison, but it reminded me of like the Kingsman movies, but for horror. Like the action just feels a lot like Kingsman. Yeah, like it's very gory action, very fun, like kinetic. That's the thing, is this movie, it's not going to win the Oscars. It's not Shakespeare, but there's fun action, fun gore, and a borderline brilliant performance from Nicolas Cage as Dracula. Yeah. I will say, like, this movie does like a concentric circles thing. So you have Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult. Nicolas Cage is Dracula, and I haven't described the movie. Nicholas Hoult is trying to get away from Dracula. Nicholas Hoult plays Renfield, Dracula's assistant. And he's been doing it for hundreds of years, and now he just wants to escape. And this movie does a concentric circles thing. So like the core relationship between Nicholas Hoult and Dracula, it's not in they don't have that much screen time together, but they have enough. That is my favorite part of the movie. Their relationship was, I thought, the best part of the movie. And then from there, you have the Aquafina character and the Ben Schwartz character, who were still funny. They're not quite as funny as the gold at the center, but they're still really, really funny. And then in the third circle, you have Aquafina and her sister, and Ben Schwartz and his mother, and that, I'll be honest, I could give a fuck about. Like, it did not really interest me at all. I'm not gonna oversell this movie. It's not perfect. It's not amazing, but there's definitely enjoyment to be had in the action and the comedy and the humor, and yeah, I think it's a really, really fun time at the movies. Yeah, I don't know what else there is to say about it. It's such a simple movie. I will say this, I would love a sequel. I would love to see Nicolas Cage do this again. I don't know if they ever will, but like, I would, especially because like this movie's not doing well at all. I don't think I would have to look again, but I don't think it did very well at all. But I would love to see a sequel to this movie, and I think that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's my take on Renfield. It's a pretty good, solid time at the movies. Yeah. Okay, so the last movie that I watched this week, well, actually, I watched 4 movies in between this one, but we don't need to talk about that because 3-hour video later this week. The last movie that I watched this week was Evil Dead Rise. I went and saw Evil Dead Rise last night, which is like, it's nice that this is like a season 2 premiere, because in the very first episode of this podcast, I talked about Evil Dead 2013. So it's nice that we get to kind of like start again with another Evil Dead movie. Yeah, this is kind of everything you would expect from a horror movie. I mean that in both a good and a bad way. The first third of this movie, I did not really enjoy, if I'm being completely honest with you. Just the way the setup to get the Book of the Dead and to get it read relies so heavily on one character specifically being such a dumbass, so stupid, that it almost like it almost tanked the movie. And one of like his sister, when there's 3 kids in this movie, and every time those 3 children spoke to each other, I kind of wanted to blow my brains out. And like, I really don't mean to say that the way it sounds, because child actors are doing the absolute best that they can. Like, I absolutely, like, they're child actors in a really, really intense movie. And when they get given some intensity, they kind of kill it. But in the normal scenes, the normal just talking to each other scenes, which are mostly in the first half, those were not it, unfortunately. And just like, not even really, like, yes, a lot of it relies on this kid being an absolute dumbass and making some of the dumbest choices I've ever seen. But also, like, the mechanism by which the Book of the Dead is even in the place that it's in is just dumb to me. Like it, I don't know. It always feels weird when a natural disaster opens up exactly the place that the plot needs it to open. Which, like, this movie opens with an earthquake that creates a hole in the ground that leads into a vault that has the Book of the Dead in it. Um, yeah, that feels really weird to me, if I'm being honest. Um, but so yeah, the first third of this movie, not great, not like I was not having a good time. Then the Deadites show up. Then the freaking Deadites show up, and it's freaking awesome. Like it's everything. Also, while we're talking about the negative, the bookend. This movie opens with a scene in a cabin because it's an Evil Dead movie, and I guess you have to have a cabin. And that felt completely pointless. It added nothing to the plot. It's kind of interesting because it's a bookend and it comes back at the end, but it doesn't come back at the end in a way that like affects the plot. It just comes back at the end. But you could cut it out of the movie and it would not change anything other than the fact that it has it opens the movie with two really, really gruesome kills that are really, really cool. But yeah, this movie, speaking of gruesome kills, when this movie gets going, it does not let up. The first act of this movie is not great, and then it almost doesn't have a second act because it just completely takes off. Just 0 to 60, pedal to the floor, blood, guts, gore. This movie, Raimi is a horror genius. The original Evil Dead is incredible. But this movie brings a new, specifically body horror flavor to the Evil Dead. The third act of this movie, I did not expect. I did not expect how fucking freaky the third act of this movie gets. It's brilliant. And the fact that the Deadite is a mom brings a really, really interesting flavor to the horror. And even though I complained about some of the I didn't complain, I stated the facts. I talked about some of the choices that the characters make being stupid. It does use the fact that these are kids and it's their mom. It does use that to justify some of the choices, and some of that makes sense. But not all of it. Yeah. It's just a really, really solid, Evil Dead movie, honestly. If I'm being completely honest, I don't know what else there is to say about it. It's just a really, really fun, solid little Evil Dead movie. With a killer third act. God, I loved it so much. It was free, just intense, not being able to breathe for the last hour of this movie, because it's also a really, really crisp 90 minutes. It does not overstay its welcome at all. Once it gets going, it's gone. It's gets in, freaks you the hell out, and gets out. Yeah, it's just a really, really fun Evil Dead movie, honestly. But yeah, that's my take on Evil Dead Rise. It's a really, really fun little movie. And with that, that's kind of my take on movies for the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I have no idea how well this worked. I have no idea how well the video worked. I have no idea how I'm going to cut it all together. But hopefully it's not, awful. Hopefully it's a little bit enjoyable. Feel free to let me know what you think of it in the comments, or you can leave a comment on not Facebook, Spotify. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts, which Apple Podcasts kind of got screwed because I don't get video. Or there's going to be a YouTube channel, which I will link in the in the podcast, like the actual Spotify, I will link the YouTube channel in the show notes. Because I'm revamping and like reviving an old YouTube channel, and I'm going to put this on it. As well as the big video that's going to come out later this week, where a friend and I break down the entirety of Neon Genesis Evangelion. So be on the lookout for that. It's almost 3 hours. I love the conversation that we had. I love all the things we broke down. It's a blast. But yeah, that's my take on movies for the week. This week, there's not a new movie in theaters that I want to see. There's one, but I think the trailer just looks genuinely awful, so I'm going to skip it. So this week, I think I want to watch Your Name, because I'm on an anime kick. I want to watch Your Name, and for some reason, I want to watch one of the Lupin the Third movies. If you have a recommendation for Lupin the Third, drop that, because I've seen some of it on Amazon and reading the Amazon Prime, which is where I watch the rebuilds. Reading those descriptions sounded really interesting, and I kind of want to watch some of those. And then I want to watch the Guardians. I want to rewatch the Guardians movies, because my Guardians take needs to be on record. Like that, I need to talk about Guardians, because I have a hot take about those movies. Not like a hot negative take. It's a hot positive take. We'll talk about it next week or whenever. But yeah, that movie comes out in like 2 weeks, so I got to be ready for that. Yeah, and then I don't know. I haven't really planned out what I'm gonna do with the other shows on the YouTube channel yet, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I think that's all I've got to say for this episode of the podcast. This first episode 15, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I think I've said all there is to say about life, the universe, and everything. 42. We'll see y'all in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on all of the things. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.